Hey, what's up everybody, how's it going? It's Burke aka Dan's Great here, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy X video. This is one that I said I might do in the comments of the Final Fantasy X timeline that I did recently. And it's something that I kind of, one day when I was bored, I sat down and I kind of wrote a little script for. So it's something that I've always wanted to kind of share, and again, it's all thanks to the information that I got from PMOG's translations of the Ultimania. So if you're wondering about all of this PMOG stuff, I'm not going to describe it all again. You can check the Final Fantasy X timeline video to see what I mean, and to see the relevant link to take you to the translations that she's come up with. But long story short, she also managed to find a section where the Ultimanias tell like a brief story of all of the main characters. And since Auron's my favourite character from Final Fantasy X, and one of my, I would say, my favourite character of all time, I thought it might be a good idea to sit down and tell his story to you guys through kind of, you know, my own interpretation of both what PMOG has said and from the information that I've got from the game and from other sources. So that's what this video is going to be about. If you're the kind of person that already knows Auron's story pretty well and you don't really need a recap, then I wouldn't really advise watching this video because you're pretty much going to be hearing stuff that you already know. But if you want to introduce someone to Auron, you know, show someone why Auron is such a great character. Although obviously this contains massive spoilers, so this might be for someone who's only played Final Fantasy X once, or you know, already has a gist of the story. Or failing all of that, if you just enjoy my videos, you know, you like the stuff that I do for Final Fantasy X, then this might be the video for you. Originally I kind of sat down and wrote this out like a story, and while I feel like it looks good on the page, when if I was just to sit down and read what I wrote, I feel like it wouldn't really tell the story as well. So instead of reading it like an audiobook, I'm just going to rephrase it once again and just almost as if I'm sitting down and explaining it to you guys, rather than reading out the story that I wrote for Auron. So without further ado, let's get into it. And the story of the legendary Guardian that we all know and love begins 35 years ago in Spira. So we know from the timeline video that he was born in Spira, not Dreams Anakin. But unfortunately, from the sources that I've seen, and also the Ultimania and that kind of stuff, we're not really told anything about Auron's childhood. I haven't been able to find anything. If you guys find any sources, and obviously if there's anything that you find and you have credible sources for, then you can always add that stuff in the comments so that other people can see it as well. Because of course there can always be stuff that I've missed. But I mean, this isn't about getting every single detail right. This is just about telling, you know, his general story in a good way, just to be able to see what his motivations are and what his history is leading up to the main game. So yes, unfortunately, we're not told anything about Auron's early life, so his timeline is pretty empty during that period.
Thanks for everything, Keenock.
I know I don't need to tell you this, but guard Lord Braska well.
That I will. And you'll be busy too. I heard they made you second in command.
You know that promotion was meant for you. You were always the better one, even until the end.
The earliest stuff that we know about Auron is that he used to be good friends with Wen Keenock, and Wen Keenock is the Maester of Yevon that we see in the main game, and those two go way back. And we see this in a sphere that we find later on in the game, and you can see them two talking as younger men. And basically, the two of them are making their way up the ranks of Yevon. So Auron is a talented warrior monk, and he's doing really well in life. And he gets given the opportunity to marry the daughter of a priest, and this is effectively a way to put himself on the fast track of becoming a really influential figure in the Yevon ranks. So Auron had this opportunity presented to him, but he refused this proposal. As for why he refuses the proposal, I mean, I don't think there's anything specifically stated that I could find, but from what we know about Auron throughout the game, I think it's obviously Auron probably just doesn't like the girl anyway, and he doesn't want to marry a girl / woman that he doesn't like just for the sake of being able to progress through the ranks. It's just against his character. So Auron refuses this proposal, which doesn't, you know, put him in a good position, and he falls out with Yevon. And when he falls out with Yevon in this way, it allows Keenock to get the promotion instead. So you get a sphere later on in the game where you hear these two talking about this particular thing, and Keenock specifically says that this promotion was meant for you. So Auron's life kind of it takes a fork in the road during this event. So when he refuses this proposal, he ends up taking a different path to what he could have been. And to be honest, knowing what we know about Auron, he could probably have ended up being like a Grand Maester at some point in the future. But he doesn't.
But I must protest. This drunkard, a guardian?
Hey! You want to step in here and say that?
What does it matter? No one truly believes that I, a fallen summoner wed to an Al Bhed, could possibly defeat sin. This is what they say. No one expects us to succeed.
Braska, sir.
Let's show them they're wrong. A fallen summoner, a man from Zanarkand, and a warrior monk doomed to obscurity for refusing the hand of the priest's daughter. What delightful irony it would be if we defeated sin.
Stop gabbing and get me out of here.
So it's around this time, Auron's around 25 years old, and he meets Braska. So Auron, at this stage, he's fallen out with the Yevon, he's kind of disillusioned, maybe he's lacking purpose in life now, because he was well on the path to becoming a significant member of Yevon, but now he's lost his way a little bit. And it says, specifically in Ultimania, that he, above all else, that he was drawn to Braska's character. And when he learns of Braska's plans to get rid of sin forever, and to save Spira in this way, he feels compelled to join him in his quest. So I guess, Braska gives Auron purpose. And also, you have to remember the fact that Braska was shunned by Yevon for marrying an Al Bhed woman, which is obviously Yuna's mother. And I guess he probably, if he knows that about him, it's likely that they share similar views about Yevon, and having the conviction to live life their own way. And I think, Auron, that's something that we see very strongly throughout the game, about being strong enough to make your own decisions, live and fight your sorrow type stuff. So it's not long before Auron makes the decision to become Braska's guardian and protect him with his life on his journey to obtain the final summoning and to defeat sin. So not soon after, Braska runs into Jecht. Jecht is a strange man who seems to think he's from Zanarkand, which happens to be the final stop in their pilgrimage. Obviously, from what people born in Spira know, Zanarkand is just a bunch of ruins that was destroyed 1,000 years ago, so this Jecht guy just seems a little bit crazy. But in a strange turn of events, Braska decides to free Jecht from the prison in Bavel, but on the condition that he joins them in their pilgrimage, because I guess he thinks that it might give him the opportunity to return home to Zanarkand, where he believes he's from. So with Braska freeing Jecht and making him a guardian as well, that kind of creates this weird, unlikely trio of heroes, and they begin their journey that's going to eventually change the course of history. So although Auron and Jecht have very contrasting characters and they clash on a lot of topics, the three of them eventually become close as they journey through Spira. So, Auron is cool, he's fiercely loyal and focused, but Jecht is kind of spontaneous, sociable, arrogant, inquisitive, so they clash on many fronts. But they form a formidable team and they successfully complete the pilgrimage.
Before, the closer I came to Zanarkand, the more I wondered. When we arrive, Braska will call the final Aeon. He will fight sin, then die. I thought my mind was made up long before. But when I stood here, my resolve wavered.
Never would have figured. Legendary Guardians choke sometimes too, huh?
Legendary Guardian. I was just a boy. A boy about your age, actually. I wanted to change the world too. But I changed nothing. That is my story.
So when they reach the end of the pilgrimage, this is when Auron's story takes a more tragic turn. And if you remember, Auron talks to Waka and Tidus about the 25-year-old version of himself just being a boy. So this is the boy Auron, and the events that happen at the end of the pilgrimage are what really transforms him into a man, and that's what we're going to see throughout the game. So the Auron that we know from the main events is kind of moulded by the events of what's going to happen to him at the end of the pilgrimage 10 years ago. So what happens? Well, when they reach their final destination in their epic journey, they learn that one of the Guardians must be sacrificed in order for Braska to obtain the final Aeon. But this isn't really what angers Auron. I mean, he'd gladly give his life to help Braska, right? I mean, this is what Auron's all about. It's just that loyalty and willingness to put himself on the line for the good of others. This is what kind of defines him as a person. But it's revealed that the final summoning is only a temporary solution, and that sin is going to return one day. And obviously this completely crushes Auron's dreams. He wants to be a part of the solution, but this is just a band-aid, and it's not something that he can take. So he can't take this this revelation, he pleads with Braska to turn back and to say, no, this isn't worth it, this isn't what we came here to do. But unfortunately, Auron's attempts to dissuade Braska are unsuccessful, because Braska still has the belief that they will be able to get rid of sin forever. And Jecht, because he hasn't been able to find a way home, he starts to lose faith that he will be able to return home one day, and his dream is left in the other Zanarkand, as we hear in the game, and he wants his life to have some meaning. So he decides to step up to the plate, and he offers himself up as the Guardian who's going to be Braska's final Aeon. So although Auron can't accept this, Braska and Jecht's will is set. There's nothing he can do to change what's about to happen. So those two go on to fight sin to the death. And it's at this point that the most important moment in the entire story takes place. And quite possibly, when we consider what's happened by the end of Final Fantasy X, this is probably the most important thing that happens in the entire history of Spira with respect to sin.
Can I ask you one last favor? Nah, never mind.
Out with it.
Okay, listen good. Take care of my son. My son in Zanarkand. He's such a crybaby. He needs someone there to hold his hand, see? Take care of him, will you?
But how am I supposed to go to Zanarkand?
Hey, you said it yourself. There must be a way to get there, right? You'll find it.
All right. I will. I give you my word. I'll take care of your son. I'll guard him with my life.
Thanks, Auron. You were always such a stiff. But that's what I liked about you.
So, Jecht is now a man who's going to be condemned to death. He is going to sacrifice himself, fighting with Braska, and he's never going to return to Dream Zanarkand, where he's left Tidus and his wife behind. But he believes that if he and Braska can defeat sin, maybe his life is going to have some meaning. So this is his whole angle. He just wants his life to have meant more than just being a Blitzball star, which is extremely noble. So, with this on his mind, he makes a request. He asks Auron for something. And what he asks him to do is the seemingly impossible. He wants him to look after his son in Zanarkand. So, from what we know in the story, how on earth is Auron supposed to get to Zanarkand? So Jecht says that he'll think of something, but neither of them have any idea where this potential Zanarkand is, how to get there, or if it's even possible. But obviously at this stage Auron's emotions are running high, and he's about to lose his two best friends in what he believes to be, a futile death, and Jecht has now become a really close friend. So in true Auron style, he reassures Jecht that he's going to guard his son with his life, even if he doesn't know how he's going to do it. He gives him that promise, and this is absolutely critical in what's going to happen in the future. And this will be the last time that he ever sees Braska and Jecht alive. So the two of them go on to battle Sin, and they emerge out victorious, and Auron is hailed as this legendary guardian for his role in protecting Braska throughout his journey. But if you're to ask Auron, about this stuff, he considers himself a failure, and he completely doesn't share those sentiments about him being a legendary guardian, because if you ask him, he couldn't stop Braska and Jecht from losing their lives in vain. And it is in vain, because a short time later Sin does re-emerge, confirming what Auron already knows, and it starts to, it's going to wreak destruction on Spira once again. So it was pretty much all for nothing. So in terms of how he's feeling about this, the Ultimania says that he wishes he could, turn back time and to do this all over again, but this time he would do it without the use of Yevon's teachings, and he would find a way to truly rid Spira of sorrow. Because if you follow, Yevon's way of doing it with the final summoning and all this kind of stuff, it doesn't work. It's just people are just sacrificing themselves in vain. So, this is his dream. He wishes he could do it all over again, but it seems like it's never going to happen. And all that's left for Auron really is a life of pain and regret. And every time his legendary status is mentioned, all it's going to do is just remind him of what he's lost. So, from here on, it's going to be a life of pain for Auron, unfortunately. So this regret and this anger, it just continues to boil up inside Auron, and after a time he just cannot take it any longer. He returns to Zanarkand and confronts Yunalesca because he wants to avenge the death of his beloved friends. you know, it was because of her words that Braska and Jecht still believed that they could, you know, potentially put an end to this sin business, and because of, you know, the way that she convinced them, he holds her partially responsible, even though he holds himself responsible too for not being able to convince them otherwise. He wants revenge, and so he heads back up to the top of Zanarkand Temple, the old Blitz Stadium, for his showdown with Yunalesca.
Hope is comforting. It allows us to accept fate, however tragic it might be.
No! Where is the sense in all this? Braska believed in Yevon's teachings and died for them. Jecht believed in Braska and gave his life for him.
They chose to die because they had hope.
So after his encounter with Yunalesca, he's gravely injured, but still, you know, being Auron, of course, he manages to make his way crawling down Gagazet and eventually reaches all the way to Bavel. There is where he meets a young Ronso called Kimari, and just before Auron dies, he entrusts him with the task of protecting Braska's daughter, obviously Yuna, and this is the final act that Auron has while he's alive. So this is his final kind of contribution as someone who is alive. So after he gives Kimari these important instructions, he passes away. So as you guys know, in Spira, death is not always the end of the line. I mean, for some people, depending on how you're feeling, it can be a new beginning. And that's exactly what it is for Auron. He has a really strong attachment to this world, and that keeps him from moving on to the next one. And he wants to stay on in Spira, and he stays on as an unsent. And he continues to exist because he has the hope of finding a way to keep his promise to Jecht, and to protect future generations from the same fate that, you know, Braska and Jecht had to endure. So his desire to live on is rewarded when his status as an unsent allows Sin, who is now partially in Jecht's control, to transport him to Dream Zanarkand, where Tidus and his mother live. So before, he was wondering, how on earth is this all going to happen? How am I supposed to get to Zanarkand? How can I find these guys? The fact that he's unsent is actually the ticket that gets him there, because it's unsent that can travel to Dream Zanarkand. And so Jecht helps his buddy out, and he takes him to Dream Zanarkand, and this is where Auron will spend the next 10 years of his life, fulfilling that promise. So Auron will spend the next 10 years fulfilling his promise to Jecht and watching over the young Tidus. So Tidus is around 7 when Auron arrives in Dream Zanarkand, and obviously he kind of befriends Tidus, but probably keeps his distance to some extent. And while he's in this bubble, Auron continues to exist within Dream Zanarkand, and he's waiting for something to happen. Because again, I mean, he's chilling in Dream Zanarkand. Tidus is growing up, but you know, although he's fulfilling his promise, part of him wants more. You know, he wants to still deal with the Sin situation, but it seems like nothing is going on because Sin doesn't seem to be around in Dream Zanarkand. So he's waiting for something to happen. And 10 years later, when Tidus is around 17 years old, it does. Jecht has a plan, and it involves bringing Tidus to Spira along with Auron. So, if you remember, Jecht said, you know, he would think of a way to get rid of Sin forever when they're having that final conversation about, you know, protecting Tidus and all this kind of stuff. So, I assume during that time, Jecht comes up with something that he believes could work, and once his plan is ready, with what little control he does have over Sin, he attacks Dream Zanarkand. While he attacks Dream Zanarkand, he extracts both Tidus and Auron. So Auron can make the journey because he's unsent, and of course, as I explained in the timeline, Tidus can make the journey because he is a dream. He's effectively an Aeon that is made entirely of Fireflies and the dreams of the faith. So Auron has returned to Spira with Tidus this time, and over the last 10 years, Kimari has fortunately held up his end of the deal as well. And he took Yuna to Besaid Island, and she was raised by the people of the village and her kind of big brother and big sister-like figures, Waka and Lulu. And unknown to Auron, Yuna has decided to walk the path of her father and also become a summoner. So obviously while Auron's out in Dream Zanarkand, he has no idea that this has become the case. But obviously Jecht is not perfectly in control of Sin, so while they make the transition from Dream Anakin to Spira, Auron and Tidus get separated. And it's not until Tidus and Yuna make it to Luca that he's able to reunite with them. So it's unknown if Jecht and Auron are able to communicate during these periods of travel, because it seems like Auron isn't really surprised by how things have turned out. So this is just my own insight here. I don't think there's any information on this. I don't know if Jecht and Auron can communicate, but just like we see Tidus sometimes having these visions when he comes into contact with Sin, perhaps it's true that Auron might also be able to have some kind of temporary link formed with Jecht when he's close to Sin. I'm not sure. It's just my own speculation.
Whoa.
Sir Auron!
Yuna,
Sir,
I wish to become your guardian. Do you accept?
You're serious?
You refuse?
no. We accept, right everyone?
Of course. No problem at all.
But why?
I promised Braska.
You promised my father? Thank you, Sir Auron. You're welcome to join us.
And he comes too.
Hi, guys. Howdy.
This one I promised Jecht.
Is Sir Jecht alive?
Can't say. Haven't seen him in 10 years.
So thanks to Jecht, Auron, and a little bit of luck, they create the circumstances under which, we can have this impossible friendship between Tidus from Dream Anakin and Yuna from Spira. The fact that they can meet and become friends is pretty much the work of Jecht and Auron, and it's thanks to them that this has all happened. I mean, if we are to extend this further, when you think about it, the reason why Tidus and the gang were able to defeat Sin forever was because they were the first group to really realise the fact that Yevon's methodology wasn't going to work, and that they needed to think of something different. And also the bond between Tidus and Yuna was so strong that Tidus would do anything in order to keep her alive and stop her from dying. And then you also have to add in the fact that it's the first time in Spiran history that one of the guardians guarding the summoner that's going to go on to defeat Sin has such a strict bond with Sin itself, with whoever is inside Sin. So the bond that Tidus and Jecht have as father and son is extremely significant, because obviously we have those scenes where Sin becomes more docile and it makes itself an easier target for the team to actually fight and to get inside it. So maybe if there wasn't that bond between Jecht and Tidus, if it was just a complete bunch of strangers, then it wouldn't have laid down and died so easily compared to the previous Sins. So again, it's the fact that Jecht was able to find a way to get Auron to Dream Anakin, and for Auron to protect Tidus and to bring him to Spira. These are really the catalysts of the act of taking out Sin forever. So it's the fact that it's played out in this way that allows Sin to be defeated permanently. And when you think about who are the architects of this, it is Jecht and Auron. So the decisions that these guys make, and the fact that they're able to bring their children, together in order to complete a pilgrimage, but with this newfound knowledge. So they have Auron to guide them with this new knowledge. That is ultimately what allows them to prevail. So, like I said, I mean, when I was talking about the most important events in Spira, you have to consider that, Jecht and Auron's coming together and the planet they create in order to get rid of Sin forever is probably the most important thing that's happened in Spira's history, because when you think of what is the most important thing in Spira's history, it is the creation and the destruction of Sin and everything that spawned from it, which obviously you've heard from the timeline. So yeah, that is the extent to which we are talking.
I've decided to marry.
I thought so.
But why? Why'd you change your mind?
For Spira's future and Yevon's unity. I thought it would be the best thing to do.
That's not good enough.
Wait, is it? Is it because of Lord Jyscal?
Hey, that sphere!
Show me.
I can't. I must speak to Maester Seymour first. I truly am sorry, but it is a personal matter.
You're kidding, huh?
As you wish.
I'm sorry.
Just one thing.
I won't quit my pilgrimage.
Then it is fine.
Wait a minute, Auron. You don't care? I mean, you're not gonna stop her?
No, I'm not. As long as she is willing to face sin, all else is her concern. That is a summoner's privilege, as long as she journeys.
So obviously, once Tidus and Yuna become friends, and it's decided that Tidus is to be Yuna's guardian, and Yuna's going to try to complete her pilgrimage and defeat Sin, you know, their fates are going to be inevitably intertwined. So Auron, you know, he's reluctant to see Yuna follow the same path as her father, but he knows all too well the strength of a summoner's will, and does not try to change her mind. So we have many references to this throughout the game, where he allows Yuna to do her own thing. The only way for Yuna to really understand the futility of the final summoning, and that it wasn't what her father truly imagined for Spira, is if she sees it with her own eyes. So, you know, when she meets Yunalesca, and we have that whole scene, you know, the epic scene before the Yunalesca boss battle.
Now! This is it! Now is the time to choose. Die and be free of pain, or live and fight your sorrow. Now is the time to shape your stories. Your fate is in your hands.
And in much the same vein, you know, he knows that Tidus and Jecht are set on a collision course, but he doesn't tell the young Tidus everything he knows because, you know, Jecht wants his son to come to Spira and experience the reality of the world for himself and to make his own decisions. So Tidus had an easy life in Spira, well, not Spira, sorry, in Dreams Anarkand. My notes are wrong here. Tidus had an easy life in Dreams Anarkand as a son of a famous Blitzball player, and Jecht wanted his son to learn of Spira's sorrow firsthand so that he could, you know, develop an attachment and to develop a, you know, an empathy for what was going on, and to hopefully free them from it, you know, with help from his father. So as a result, Auron's only choice is really to keep the two youngsters close by his side. There's not really too much he can do. He has to literally be a guardian and just make sure the two of them complete the journey. And he continues to watch over them just as he promised that he would. And all he really does is act as a signpost for the pilgrimage and a safety net that will guide them along the path without revealing its secrets. Why doesn't he reveal his secrets? Because he believes it's the right of those experiencing the journey to learn the true essence of Spira and to make their own decisions about how they can change it. So again, this is something that I like about Auron. He doesn't enforce his own opinions on people. He lets people find out things for themselves. So obviously he has to give certain information, like he has to tell Tidus that you know, Jecht is Sin and that it's his father, etc, etc, but he already explains why he has to do that in the game, because obviously you don't want to find that out right at a critical moment. So I do like this this aspect. So Auron waits in the wings, patiently waiting for an opportunity to take center stage once again and tell the young summoner and her guardians that this is their chance to truly make a difference and to not go down the path of regret like he did 10 years ago, aka the now is the time to choose scene. So Yuna's newfound understanding of sin, Tidus' unwillingness to let go of someone he loves, and Auron's powerful words spur the team on and they defeat Yunalesca, ending a 1,000-year exercise in futility. And once this happens, they go on to defeat Sin and Jecht, who's the core of it. And once Yevon is defeated, it's time for Auron to leave this world to the living and reunite with his friends on the far plane, this time as a truly legendary guardian.
Don't stop.
But
It's all right. It's been long enough. This is your world now.
So there it is, guys. That is Auron's story. That is my rendition of it. That is Auron's story through my own eyes, through the information that I've managed to gather over the years. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And you know, Auron for me, when I first played this game, truly, I was like 13, 14, and it was the first time where I played a game and I thought to myself, this guy is just incredible. Like, I wish he truly existed, and that I knew someone like this, or that, you know, I could be part of this world, or that like Auron could be my uncle or something. You know, it was the first time that I played through a game where I wished one of the characters was real. And obviously it coincided with a time when it was my first kind of foray into cinematic gaming. It kind of happened at a similar time with Metal Gear Solid as well, and that's the reason why those two are still my favorite franchises to this day. But yeah, just that loyalty above everything else, just the fact that he's willing to sacrifice his own you know, happiness for others, and the fact that he's willing to go so far above and beyond to keep a promise to a friend is something that really resonates with me, and it's something that I've always appreciated about Auron. So yeah, that is the story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, if you have any other information that you want your fellow Final Fantasy X fans to know about Auron, then feel free to add it in the comments, but please make sure you cite this information, because I hear a lot of bullshit, and I don't like seeing people just throwing around information without, you know, telling you where it comes from. And, you know, in the same vein, if there's anything that I've said that doesn't make sense to you, and you're wondering how on earth did you come to that conclusion, then drop me a question in the comments and I'll try to answer it for you. But yeah, that is Auron's story. PMOG has gone on to write stories for most of the other characters. There's some missing ones, unfortunately. I believe Tidus is missing, or Yuna's missing. There are some missing characters, but to be honest, most of them are like a page long anyway, and Auron's one was also around a page long or 2 pages long, and I've kind of fleshed it out a bit more with my own knowledge. But Auron, because he's such a special character to me, it was something that I wanted to do, but I don't really want to I don't want to launch myself into a series about everyone, because I feel like Auron, his story is really unique compared to everyone else's. So this is likely the only video of this kind that I'll be doing. So maybe in the future I might try to like break down the entire story, because having done the timeline video, obviously that's everything up until the beginning of the game. So I guess if I could possibly make a video that explained the entire events of the game, like another maybe half an hour, 45-minute video, I guess if you combine that with a timeline, then you would have pretty much everything you needed to know, you know, still in the summary form, because obviously the story takes so long and there's so much information that's not shared in the game through the Ultimates as well. But as a summary, it could be a nice resource. But again, no time on that. It will probably be something that, again, I'll be bored one day and I'll sit down and I'll start to write a plan for something. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for joining me on this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you guys with more stuff in the future. Take care.
The red carpet has teeth.
Wait, that means we're close to Bavel.
Riku, you read me! We're gonna fight that thing! Get on deck and show him what you got! Go!
There he goes again.
The ferryman asks a high price.